Okay. Let's just, Dante, come. Good. Yay, Doug. Good. Okay, good. Dante, wait. Dante, come. Good. Yay, good. Good boy. Good boy. Good. Okay, we've got a towel for Dante. Good. Dante, down. Good boy. Good. Very good. Today is the 26th of January 2026. Okay. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. This is our main side, one of our fourths. Okay, the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, where we allow the human body to work. We're called a clothing company. We are a clothing company only for the sake of the human body. Allowing the body to work is what we do. Why? How? Well, no claim, no opinion, no religion, no belief, no new information. Doesn't matter what you think or what I think. There's only one way the human body could ever work, okay? Despite popular opinion. The human body is just a mechanical machine placed onto a rock in space. The rock in space is called Earth. Clothing is physically placed on us. If clothing isn't placed on us, the only way our bodies work, our bodies can't work. The human body is about hinges and levers. It's about rotations. And it's about a neutral position. A neutral position in everything. There's a center line to Earth's gravity. Vertical. Okay? Straight up and down. Perpendicular with its horizontal surface. Okay? The vertical pole of Earth's center of gravity meshes with our body's center line. There's no opinion to have. There's immovable bone at the center line of the body. Okay? I say it like this because this is the case. Sternum, spine, trachea, nose, and jaw. The jaw stabilizes the entire body. This is the same for dogs. So we discuss eating, sleeping, standing, walking, sitting, breathing, hydration, everything we do as a human being, and doing it all natural. In this unnatural modern man-made world placed onto God's natural earth, we've got to do things naturally, synthetic, artificial, and unnatural. These are synonyms with fake. And the body's only natural. We're only what we've eaten. That's how you grow, okay? Pulled from the clay, as it says in the Holy Bible. In the image of God, in the image of Jesus Christ, we are designed. That's why we're a clothing company. Anything that clothes the human body. Glasses, jewelry, anything. Pants, shirts, undergarments, shoes, socks, gloves, hats, whatever it is. These things have to stay centered. They have to fit correct. We don't get to decide where that is. We don't get to decide truth, okay? Don't believe me. Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, on anything I ever say, even just Evan Strong in daily life. Don't believe anybody at In the Image Clothing Company's team, including our poodles. We will have many, okay? But truth is truth, and there truly is only one way the human body could ever work. It's just a mechanical machine, and it just has the natural ranges of motion that it does or it doesn't work, okay? Full range of motion. A video here under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. Check it out if you'd like. So Dante and I are here in the state of Utah. We live up Utah as In the Image Clothing Company, doing things in the beautiful, diverse nature, so much outside. Also, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the headquarters is here in the state of Utah. A lot of church history in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints here in Utah. There's just a lot of beautiful stuff going on. So Dante and I will move down to St. George, Utah, the very southernmost part of Utah. It's warm, a lot warmer than it is here in Utah County. Okay, about 3.5 hour drive south from here. Beautiful desert, red rock, sandstone, awesome area down there. And there's just a lot of beautiful things here in Utah that we do. So you know a little bit about this fourth of In the Image Clothing Company. Now this video's title is short sleeves, and the sternocleidomastoid. Okay, that's a muscle, and we'll get into it. We talk about the sternocleidomastoid quite a bit under In the Image Clothing Company, and for a huge reason. We'll talk about it, okay? Another fourth of In the Image Clothing Company is In the Image Clothing Company poodles. We specialize in purebred standard poodles. Dante here is a standard poodle. He's the rescue, okay, from the South Utah Valley Animal Shelter. We'll breed purebred standard poodles. Doing it properly. That's the thing. We don't need to rescue dogs or advocate for rescuing dogs if we can, before dogs ever get into shelters, do all we can to keep dogs at homes. So we do. We keep less dogs in shelters and more dogs at homes. Under In the Image Clothing Company poodles, one of our forwards under In the Image Clothing Company, by advocating for how to be a good owner of dogs, and then doing that once you know. Okay. Letting dogs stay natural. It's the same phrasing as allowing the body to work. Under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, our information applies to all dogs across the earth and a lot of animals as well. Okay. Collars, leashes, harnesses, bandanas, anything placed onto a dog is just like clothing for a human being. It has to stay centered and fit the dog proper. Keeping collars centered, a huge focus for both human beings and dogs. Any animals we place collars onto. Okay. Light, minimal, simplistic, for the sake of the functionality of the human being, for the sake of the functionality of the dog. So yeah, staying centered, fitting correct, and in all the ways we possibly can, being made from 100% natural materials. This is how our clothing has to be. This is how our clothing has to be. I said it twice. What I'm saying is, there's a lot of things nowadays that didn't exist in the past, like stretch in clothing. The human body only pulls. That's a video here under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. Even in what seems like a push, it's just the back side of a function where muscles connect to bones through tendons, pulling the endpoints together directly in line to extend a hinge joint. We don't actually push as a human being. We pull muscles to extend or open a hinge, and then in the sake of the elbow, in the case of the elbow, either way, the hand goes farther from us from pulling muscles together. Those triceps on the back side of the elbow. Okay. So the human body only pulls, gets closer together, the musculature contracts, and that's the opposite direction of stretch. Stretch in clothing didn't even exist just tens of years back from today's date. Today's date is the 26th of January 2026. Like I said already in this video, another date-marked documentation. That's a lot of what we do under In the Image Clothing Company is the gift of video. Okay, so much video on all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company. That's a huge part of what we always are and will be, have been, okay? Products aside, but yes, human being clothing, dog products, whatever else we branch out into, InTheImageClothingCompany.com is where you'll find them. There you go, okay? Allowing the body to work. What does it mean? Well, what does it mean to discuss short sleeves and this muscle you may not even know where it is in the body or if it even exists? The sternocleidomastoid. Okay, what really is neck pain? A video I filmed in St. George, Utah, where we will be moving, okay, setting up base camp for life, as in the Image Clothing Company, but Dante and I personally, and then our team will build, okay, as it does. Back in November of 2025, what really is neck pain? That video, I talked about it. You can have neck pain and you can be like, oh, my neck hurts. Someone says, well, what's your neck? You can ask what neck pain is, but what is the neck? The neck is a lot of muscles. The neck is the spine. The neck is the trachea. It's the esophagus. The neck has diaphragms. The neck is the jaw, but the neck is the shoulders at the top or bottom of it. The neck is the base of the skull, but the neck is the top of the shoulder blades. What is the neck? You can have all these discussions you want, and so we do. We just talk about things in such depth. That's a big thing what we do. That's a lot of the things that we do. That's a big part of who we are. A lot of what we do as In the Image Clothing Company is just discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth, even apart from clothing. Just how does this thing work? There's only one way it could, because this immovable bone in the center, just talking about one of them only, the sternum in the front that the ribs connect into, then they wrap around the body and connecting to the center line in the spine, in the rear of the body. All those little bones called vertebrae stacking to have all the motion that they have in them. Okay? The natural curve in the spine. A video here under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company, Dante and I filmed. Yeah, there's a natural curve to the spine. So, the sternocleidomastoid, there's one on each side of the head, one on the outside of the head, on each side of the head. It's the muscle that's on the farthest outside of the head, okay? And, well, we need to support our head in the center line of our body. There's a video here under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company titled The Natural Head Position, okay? The neutral head position, the normal head position, if you will, because those are synonyms. Natural, neutral, and normal, they're the same thing within the functioning of the human being or the dogs. There's only one natural position for everything in the body, and that's just the neutral, okay, between the two sides of everything in the body. And that's how the body would normally work, okay? Synonyms, meaning they mean the same thing. Now, the center line of our bodies has to mesh with Earth's center of gravity. Earth's center of gravity doesn't change. If we're on the surface of the Earth, it's just pulling straight down on us. Gravity, okay? You know what else is pulling straight down on? Our clothing. Gravity has the same effect on our clothing as it has on our bodies. Clothing's the only thing physically placed onto our bodies. Clothing truly is the only fix to human beings' physical problems. I'd say the same thing if I didn't have a clothing company. It's just the truth. At least the physical problems we discuss under In the Image Clothing Company, because how could it not be? We've got joints of material. We've got joints of body parts. We can say you've got seams of material and seams of body parts. They have to mesh in the same location. There's only one way the human body could ever work. And so when we place anything on it, it just can't alter how the body works. We've got feet at our foundation, gripping arches inward, opposing the center line and keeping us vertical on Earth's gravity, okay? We've got opposition to the body. You pull muscles to close a hinge. You pull muscles to open a hinge. You pull from one foot on one side of the body in, opposing the foot on the other side of the body pulling in, and there's the center line in between the two, okay? Opposition, it's in all things. Another fourth of In the Image Clothing Company, In the Image Clothing Company podcast, we discuss the gospel of Jesus Christ, aka the truth of all things. I don't get to decide. But when we get down to it, there's always just only what there is in life. You can't even have an opinion on anything unless there's something there first to have an opinion on. And you can't have any beliefs unless you're first there to have a belief. So where'd you come from? And your beliefs can't decide that because you had to be here first to have a belief. And so there's always only truth, and none of us could decide it, but God is the truth, okay? Jesus Christ, the designer of our bodies. And so there's only one way our bodies work. There's only one truth to everything there is in life, okay? 203 is the number of episodes we're on. As of today's date, the 26th of January, 2026, of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. Just deep insights on life. You don't have to believe in anything or be religious, but you're a human being, just like everyone else. You're on this earth, if you are, just like everyone else. And we're all designed by the same God. Life's just what life is, and no one could decide it. It was here before us, really, you know. So here's the point. Opposition, light and dark, warmth and cold. They're opposites, but they wouldn't exist without each other. You couldn't lift the wrist up unless you could put the wrist down. And where's the center? Well, it's the neutral. There's a neutral to everything in the body. The sternocleidomastoid muscle opposes the center line of the body. Okay, clothing is placed on our bodies. So keeping collars centered. In the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, we call it the dreaded collar seam. Anything around the circumference of our neck, in the collar of our top, that's not even, our body dreads it. Our bodies dread having anything placed on them that don't allow them to work. There's only one way the human body could work. No opinion to have. If I had an opinion on it, it wouldn't matter. Truth is truth. I don't get to decide. I didn't design my body, but it's the same as everyone else's. Universal human design, okay? You can have an amputation, deformity, birth defect, major surgery, anything that's altered your body a little bit or quite a bit. We're all different where we are. We do, though, have to do all that we can in our own individualistic situations to get as close as we can to the universal human design because of Earth's center of gravity, because there's a center to the body, lungs on either side, we're breathing, or we're not alive. It takes the entire body to stabilize to some degree in every breath we take. There really truly is only one way the human body could ever work. It's impossible to train it to get it to do anything. That's why it doesn't work when you try. You keep doing it, you'll never get enough of what's not for you. People try to train posture. The body has opposing bends, opposition in all things. The ankles bend backward, the knees bend forward. The hips bend backward, the low back bends forward, the mid back bends backward, the upper back, which is really the neck, bends forward. This is all starting with our feet flat on the earth's surface, barefooted, or the term zero drop in any brand of shoe, just meaning flat on the bottom because the horizontal surface of the earth is that perpendicular angle with its vertical gravity pull. And our bodies just have to have an even mathematical bend back and forth to stay vertical on Earth's gravity. It's impossible to train posture. You're still on the same vertical gravity pull always if you're still on Earth. So, yeah, the importance of zero drop shoes. A video here under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. There's a lot of things throughout the body that start from the very bottom up. The body's head will be affected by its feet. The bottom's head will be affected by its fingertips. And vice versa, in any way, any end of any extremity in the body, meaning the farthest point to the farthest point. And the farthest point from the fingertips is actually the toes. Okay? We can raise our hand above our head. It's from the toes to the fingertips, not the toes to the tip of the head with the body's function. Okay? Spanning it vertically. So here's the thing. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Now you know that I couldn't have an opinion on it. And if that's not enough, let's say this, let's show this, let's do this, listen to this. The body has elbows. We're going to talk about this in this video because this video's title is the Sternocleidomastoid and short sleeves. Really short sleeves and the Sternocleidomastoid is how we'll title it. Keeping elbows at the natural waist is a huge focus under In The Image Clothing Company. It's a huge focus in daily life. You don't have to care about In The Image Clothing Company at all, but we give information that applies to you, even if we don't know you. We live in a right-handed world, though, and we get imbalanced, okay, for a lot of reasons. Because you're right-handed is a video here under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company Dante and I filmed. Check this out. The elbow is at the natural waist. The elbow is these two bones in the forearm, the radius and the ulna, that have rotations, internal or external rotation, the thumbs coming in or the thumbs going out, from the thumbs pointing straight up here with our elbows bent. Okay. Internal rotation, thumbs coming in from the neutral. External rotation, thumbs going out from the neutral. Okay. Thumbs coming in means the palm goes down. Thumbs coming out means the palm goes up. There's a neutral though. There's only one way the human body could ever work. The elbow is these two bones in the forearm, the radius and the ulna, and they come and meet the upper arm bone called the humerus. That upper arm bone is the shoulder at its top end, and it's the elbow at the bottom end, and it's an immovable bone. So with the elbows at the natural waist, that's the shoulder at the neutral height. Okay? There's only a neutral to everything in the body or it couldn't work. If you didn't have a place to come from, you couldn't go anywhere. Okay? And there's just two sides to everything in the body. Okay? Forward and back, or left and right, or up and down with things like the wrist or the shoulder or the elbow. Okay? Internal or external with the rotations of the body. Okay? So, there's only one way the human body could ever work. The natural waist, though, is above the hip bones, but below the lowest ribs. There's a space there where there's no bone on the side of the body. The bone is at the very center line right there. It's the spine. Multiple bones, okay? That'd be the lumbar spine or the lowest third of the spine. Those vertebrae in the spine, that's what they're called, the bones of the spine. That's where we bend side to side. We can't actually bend side to side at the hips without a foot coming off the ground, okay? That's just how it's shaped and worked and how the body's designed, and we didn't design it. Jesus Christ did in his image, okay? There's only one way the human body could ever work. So this is where our pants sit, up at our natural waist, above our hip bones, and slightly higher in the front than in the rear. Because the bottom of our feet are flat on the Earth's surface, horizontal, perpendicular with the vertical gravity pull. And the bottom of our feet correlate with our pelvis or our hip structure, okay? The pelvis can come posterior or anterior, okay? Rotating underneath us or away from us from its neutral. And that neutral is the same angle as our feet on the Earth's surface, horizontal underneath us, okay? There you go. Zero drop shoes allow our feet to be neutral from dorsiflexion, lifting the toes, or plantar flexion, pointing the toes. There's only a neutral, okay? These are the Zero Shoes branded Ridgeway model boots. There you go. Credit where I do. There you go. There you go. Zero Shoes is an amazing brand, okay? Live life feet first, they say. And they do it well, okay? So here we go. The body working, how it does, is how it does, and that's it. The elbows at the natural waist are our neutral height shoulder, okay? Now, where are we getting to with this in this video specific? The sternocleidomastoid and the short sleeves. Okay, short sleeves and the sternocleidomastoid. This video's title under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. The importance of even short sleeves. Keeping short sleeves short. Short sleeves and internal rotation. I'm pretty sure that's what that last one there is called or titled. Anyway, if not, it's something like that. Videos there under the main site of In The Image Clothing Company. Here, okay. Short sleeves and internal rotation. Yeah, I don't know if that's exactly what that one's titled, but there's a video about that. I'll say it here though as well. When our forearms rotate, those two bones in the forearm, the radius and the ulna, okay, it's like the bones in the lower leg, the tibia and the fibula, that allow for rotations from the neutral, pinky toe straight forward, internal rotation or external rotation in that lower leg, okay? That's basically the same thing as the forearm. The foot is like the hand, the ankle is like the wrist, and the lower leg is like the forearm. When we internally rotate the forearm, the bones have to roll over each other. That's how we're rotating, is one bone in the arm and the other bone in the arm right next to each other, they roll over top of each other like this, okay? And as we internally rotate the forearm or bring the thumb in toward the center line of the body, we have to have room inside this elbow joint here where our short sleeves will come down to for our forearm bones to be able to rotate and have them come up and over to have that internal rotation happen, okay? Because it's actual bone coming up and over the top of another bone. And so keeping short sleeves short, that's what I mean. We've got a lot of short sleeves branded like that in modern clothing design, and they're not short sleeves. They're shorter than long sleeves. But if your short sleeves ever touch your elbow joint, really meaning these two bones in your forearm that come up and meet the upper arm bone or the humerus, right? That is the elbow joint. It's three bones coming together. If we've got clothing sitting on that joint is altered. Not only can we have the short sleeve be in the way, blunt, bold, raw, and real, In The Image Clothing Company. I understand the surrounding sounds, okay? Just being able to bend the elbow all the way, okay, can be limited by having our short sleeves not short enough to just be out of the way for the elbow to bend all the way without hitting into the short sleeve. But then also the rotations in the forearm, that bone trying to roll up and over the other bone in the forearm to have internal rotation. If it's hitting into the short sleeve because it's not short enough, we won't have half of the rotation of our bodies internal from the neutral there's external from the neutral, there's internal from the neutral, there's external, okay? There's just two sides to the rotations. And if there's just something in the way of those rotations happening, those rotations won't happen. Okay? Keeping short sleeves short. It's a huge focus. But this is the thing. The sternocleidomastoid is a muscle a lot of people don't even know about. Cranes. It's probably the same pair. There's been at least 2 other videos I've filmed in the same location under In The Image Clothing Company's main side where 2 cranes have flown over. It's almost certainly the same pair. And out of any time in the day, you know, that's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. It makes me really emotional in a really good way. Okay. Cranes mate for life, man. Marriage, matrimony, wedded. Anyway, that's awesome. Oh, shoot. That's awesome. Okay. Man, those are some big birds, man. Cranes. Okay. So, the sternocleidomastoid, when I was asking earlier, what is the neck, right? The video I filmed down in beautiful St. George, Utah, here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, what really is neck pain? Yeah, the farthest out left or right muscle that connects to the skull to support it is called the sternocleidomastoid. We talk about this, the importance of even sternocleidomastoid insertions. It inserts to the skull right behind the ears up here, okay? In a right-handed world, with 85% give or take of human beings being right-handed, okay? Because you're right-handed, there's a lot of things I know about you without ever having met you at all, okay? About your own personal body's physical functioning and patterning you might be in, okay? Our right side of our body gets farther away from the center line, dropped lower, and more externally rotated. As the body drops, it just goes into external rotation. As the body rises, it goes into internal rotation. That's just how it works, okay? There's a lot to that. I'll discuss more in here as I do in this video, specifically under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company, okay? Short sleeves and the sternocleidomastoid. Because this is the thing with the sternocleidomastoid, it's clear on the outsides of the head. Okay. So, yeah. If we don't have our sternocleidomastoids even, our head can't be even. We can't have a neutral head position, but the head's just a ball of weight on top of the rest of the body. The highest point, when we're standing with our arms just down at our sides, from our feet, okay, the head, it's the highest point. Just standing like this with our arms down. And what happens is our body's stabilizing this ball of weight on top of us. And this is how physics works, okay? I'm not a physician. Obviously. Yeah, shoot. No, I'm not like a professional with physics by any means. But the human body is just mechanics. That's a video Dante and I filmed here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. We discuss physics. We discuss mathematics. We discuss mechanics, the other word that starts with an M that we say often, okay? Under In The Image Clothing Company. Because that's how it is. The human body really is just angles of hinges. It's degrees of rotations. It's staying vertical over Earth's gravity, okay? And the body either has motion or it doesn't. It's a mechanical machine, meaning a machine of motion. When it comes to physics, okay, when it comes to just leverage, you know, the farthest outside of the head muscle that you could have, which is, in the case of the human body, the sternocleidomastoid. Dante, if you can stay on the towel, that'd be good. Okay, we've got a slip lead here, we meaning me and God. Okay, discussing how to be a good owner of dogs under In the Image Clothing Company poodles. Dante's just such a well-behaved dog, but also I have a slip lead here just in case I need to restrain him. Okay, just for the sake of making it clear, we're somewhere where it's safe for him to be off his lead. The farther out you get from something, the more leverage you can have on it. Okay, so there's a lot of muscles in the neck. There's the upper trapezius connecting to the spine in the rear of the body, and the very base of the rear of the skull as it's traveling up on the top end of it. Okay, but that's in the very center of the body, connecting to the skull. We've got jaw musculature. Okay, the jaw is the shoulder. A video here under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. And yeah, the jaw stabilizes the entire body, and there's musculature, tendons, connections from the jaw down to the shoulders, at the very edges of the shoulders. It comes through the collar of our top, keeping collars centered. I'm telling you that for a reason. As the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, with our slogan being allowing the body to work on our main side here, you have to keep your collars centered. The importance of snug collars. Another video here under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company. The case for dogs as well. You want them to be nice and snug. You don't want play in the collar of your dog's top. Oh, wow. Collar. The collar for a dog is essentially like them wearing a top. Okay. Dogs don't usually wear clothing. They make clothing for dogs, times and places, but don't alter your dog. That's the point. Okay. The jaw stabilizing the entire body. It's stabilizing the head as well. But the musculature in the jaw doesn't quite have the same leverage as the sternocleidomastoid muscles, sternocleidomastoid, at the very outside of the head, up behind the ears. When these pull, that's a lot of leverage from the outside of the head versus the upper trapezius, for example, clear at the very center of the rear of the base of the skull, right along the spine. There's not much leverage those muscles can have left and right because they're so close to the center line. This is the point with the sternocleidomastoid and how it's such a huge focus, and why we focus on it so much under In the Image Clothing Company, and why it has to be focused on, even though it's a muscle a lot of people don't even really think much about. It's got the most leverage left to right on the skull of the human being. Okay. So what we really do under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here is we get out of chronic patterning, scar tissue through bone spurs, and whatever else it could be in the body damaged, okay? Through wearing imbalances in clothing of any kind, oversized clothing, ropes introduced to the body, which are clothing in these cases, shoelaces, drawstrings, anything, tied one side over the other with a knot on the body when there's a center line to it, okay? Right-handed knots versus left-handed knots. A video here under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company. We need right-handed knots on our left side and left-handed knots on our right side, okay, because there's a center line to the body. So this is the point. With the sternocleidomastoids having this much leverage, is if our head isn't centered, meaning our physical skull is just this ball of weight on top of the rest of our body when we're standing like this, the rest of our body, all the way down to our toes, all the way out to our fingertips, is trying to stabilize this ball of weight on top of us, meshing with Earth's center of gravity and the human body's center line. There's no opinion to have over these things, okay? If the head's not centered left and right, the muscle that's taking the most effect, taking the most beating, if you will, is those sternocleidomastoid muscles. There's one on each side of the head. So at the top end, the sternocleidomastoid connects right behind the ears, on the actual skull. It comes down and it barely clears the rear of our lower jawbone. We put so much focus on the jaw under In the Image Clothing Company. The jaw, the lower jawbone, the mandible, is just a bone that's hinging. Okay, let me reference a few videos here under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company. The importance of even jaw musculature, the importance of the corners of the mouth, the importance of small utensils, workouts don't help the jaw, eating and drinking with the left hand, really that just means non-dominant, okay, to keep our jaw centered. The shoulder is the jaw. I referenced that a minute or two ago here, give or take, okay. We've got a lot of videos discussing the jaw because it stabilizes the entire body and it's in the center line of the body. And this sternocleidomastoid barely clears the rear of that mandible or the lower jawbone as it comes down from the skull, and then it connects in two places at the bottom end, okay? I'll discuss it, but there's a video here under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company titled, "The Sternocleidomastoid is in the front, the upper trapezius is in the rear." Okay, and I discussed it, how I did. But the point is, both of those muscles connect to the rear of the head at the top end, even though at the bottom end, the sternocleidomastoid connects in the front and the upper trapezius connect in the rear. The shoulders only ever work behind the head. Okay. The short sleeves. Okay. Short sleeves and the sternocleidomastoid. When the muscle of the sternocleidomastoid comes down from the skull, right behind the ears, it barely clears that lower jawbone. It splits off into two insertions at the bottom. It connects to the sternum, right at the top of the sternum, which is the center bone in the front of the body. Okay, the sternum. I understand the airplane noise. I get it. Okay, I get it. I'll wait, just so that it's not as loud. Okay. Okay. Yeah. This is huge. Okay. Short sleeves are doing this to the skull of the human being, to the head. The sternocleidomastoid is the muscle connected on the farthest outside, left or right, on both sides too, opposition, okay, of the head from the center line. The center line of the head, left and right, is the nose or the jaw, okay, both things. So, yeah, the importance of even nostrils, the importance of even eyebrows, the importance of even ears. Okay, videos under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company. A lot of stuff is coming from the head, pattern-wise throughout the entire body. So this sternocleidomastoid connecting at the sternum also splits off and connects at the collarbone or the clavicle. This is one of the three bones of the shoulder. We talked about earlier another one of the three bones of the shoulder, the upper arm bone or the humerus. It connects at the shoulder to the collarbone or the clavicle. Okay, so this collarbone or clavicle, it starts up at the top of the sternum, it comes up and out, and it meets the upper arm bone or the humerus at the edge of the shoulder here. Okay, now our edge seams of our tops just need to be where the body works. Okay, right at the very edges of the shoulders, as close as we can possibly get, because that's where the body has its motion. So that's where the clothing needs to have its motion, if you will. Okay, where the joints of the clothing are need to be where the joints of the bone are of the shoulder of the human being. Okay, oversized clothing, it's damaging your body. Even if you don't care to care even about clothing, you have to have your clothing fit you correct. There's only one way your body works. And I can tell you that. Okay. It's the truth. And clothing's the only thing physically placed on it. And so, When this sternocleidomastoid muscle is connecting to the collarbone or the clavicle, right? This just two names for the same bone there. It's determining where the shoulder goes. As the collarbone comes up, it comes in. As the collarbone goes down, it goes out. Earlier when I said internal rotation is lifting the body and external rotation is dropping the body, that's what I mean. Okay, a lot of it's just the shape of the collarbone, the position of the collarbone, how the collarbone pivoting up and in or down and out is determining the shoulder's positioning. And there you go, okay? Internal rotation from the shoulder to the foot. A video Dante and I filmed here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. Oversized tops and the collarbone. A video here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. Okay. So, the sternocleidomastoid is lifting the collarbone. It's got an anchor point at the top end, which is the skull of the human being, right behind the head, okay? Yikes. Right behind the head is not quite what I mean. Right behind the ears is where that sternocleidomastoid connects to this skull. Okay? And muscles just need anchor points. Keeping 2 points of contact in the feet is a video here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. You have to have one foot as one point of contact, gripping, pulling against either the other foot as one point of contact, or the different length toes of the human being as one point of contact, and then the heel of the same foot as the second point of contact, and then you can pull together. The noise, man. All muscles do is pull directly in line. They connect to bones at the endpoints through insertions, as we call them, with tendons, and they just pull directly in line. They only pull and they just do it straight in line, okay? The sternocleidomastoid, its anchor point or its insertion point is at the skull up here, behind the ear, at the top end, and at the low end, it's the collarbone. And so it's pulling the collarbone up as the muscle contracts, and that pulls the arm in, okay, up and in. Or if that muscle relaxes, the collarbone goes down and out, okay? The sternocleidomastoid, there you go. Short sleeves, why? Where do short sleeves play into this? Well, we've got to remember the shoulder is the elbow. They're exactly the same thing seen like this. They are. Not just that there's a way to see it, but this is how you can see that they are the exact same thing. The upper arm bone, the humerus, it's immovable by itself. It's just a stick, essentially. The bottom end of the upper arm bone is the elbow, sitting at the natural waist at its neutral position. The top end of the upper arm bone, or the humerus is what it's also called, is the shoulder, meeting this collarbone, okay, as two of the three bones of the shoulder. There you go, collarbone or clavicle, and upper arm bone or humerus. Now, short sleeves, they're encapsulating the upper arm bone or the humerus. At the bottom end of the short sleeves, or the sleeve cuff, if you will, of the short sleeve, that just needs to be out of the way, certainly, of the two bones in the forearm that come up and meet the bottom end of the upper arm bone or the humerus, so that they can just move and have all their motion without having too long of short sleeves in their way, okay? Their way meaning the two bones of the forearm that's bending the elbow, and those two bones of the forearm coming up, but that's also rotating internally, and those two bones of the forearm rotating with each other, okay? One coming up and over the other one as we rotate, okay? Good boy, Dante. Good. Yes. Good, okay? You are good. Good. Yay. Okay. Not only do we need to keep the short sleeves off of the elbow joint, three bones, the upper arm bone coming down, called the humerus, the radius and ulna coming up, called the forearm, okay? We also just need to be able to move our upper arm bone or our humerus without that short sleeve restricting the motion of the humerus. Anywhere the humerus goes, the collarbone goes. They're connected directly, bone to bone. The collarbone or clavicle comes and meets the end of it with the end of the upper arm bone or the humerus at the shoulder joint. They just come directly to each other, bone end to bone end. Dante, come here, boy. I'm fine with him just checking out what's going on over there, but if he sits in the dirt, he'll get dirtier than him sitting on his towel here. Dante, come. Good. Good. You sit here? Good. Good boy. Good. Dante is such a good dog. It's ridiculous. Yeah, there's a lot of that I couldn't take credit for, you know. I mean, you can take credit through certain training. A certain level of credit is what I mean through training, but a lot of it's just the dog themselves, and Dante's just amazing. Okay. Naturally is what I mean. Man, I do training with him, but even if I didn't, he's just so great, you know. So he'd be obedient to the degree that he already just is, even if I never taught him any commands. Okay, is what I'm saying. So here's the thing. 2 bones. Okay? There's 3 bones of the shoulder. The scapula, or the shoulder blade, meets into the shoulder as well. Okay, but for this discussion on short sleeves and the sternocleidomastoid is, oh my goodness, all of a sudden it's noisier than it was. The focus is this collarbone or clavicle is directly determined by the sternocleidomastoid muscle, and what that sternocleidomastoid muscle is doing is supporting the head, and it is the farthest out muscle on the head that determines the head's positioning left and right more than any muscle on the whole body would. Okay? It's a huge focus. It's just got so much leverage, being on the clear outsides of each side of the head. And if our arm is altered, what our arm is, essentially, is our collarbone or clavicle. Okay? The arm is the shoulder. The collarbone or clavicle is one of the 3 bones of the shoulder. Each of the 3 bones of the shoulder meet just bone to bone right at the very edge of the shoulder, right? There's just cartilage between the bones to cushion them, to not wear them out. The bones connect to bones through ligaments, like how muscles connect to bones through tendons, okay? 3 bones directly meet at the shoulder. And so our upper arm bone or our humerus will always go the exact same place that the collarbone goes. They're directly connected. And the collarbone has a muscle directly connected to it that determines the position of our skull, left and right, more than any muscle could, and it's the sternocleidomastoid. We just have to support our head on top of our bodies. And so if your short sleeves are not short enough and they're touching your forearms, then when you bend your forearm, you'll have to drop your arm down and out of the way to try to get under and around the short sleeve. And what is happening when you drop your arm? Your collarbone is pivoting down and out. Now look at my head. The muscle connecting the collarbone to the skull is the sternocleidomastoid, and so your head's pulled on. And then your body, all the way down to your toes and throughout the entire body, has to compensate to just stay vertical over Earth's gravity, or you just fall over. All because you have a short sleeve that's a little bit longer than short enough to clear your forearm. That goose has a piece missing out of its wing, like feathers missing. There's a lot of geese. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Well, a relative amount of a lot of geese. But one of them had a big old gap there in its right wing. Feathers missing. Anyway, here's a little bird flying through. Cool. All right, cool. I love birds. Dante, you're a good boy. Good boy, Dante Doug. Oh, shoot. You're a good boy. Good boy. Good, okay? You're good. Good. So, if our arm has to try to clear a short sleeve and get around it because it's just in the way, the upper arm bone can't go anywhere the collarbone doesn't go. And the collarbone has that muscle, the sternocleidomastoid, connecting it directly to the skull, clear on the outside of the skull. And if the collarbone has to drop, which it will if the upper arm bone drops, to try to clear a short sleeve that's just too long, okay, the upper arm bone dropping is directly connected to the collarbone, and if it drops, it goes down and out. Now we're in external rotation as one of the things, right? Internal rotation is closest to the body's center line. External rotation is the farthest away. When it comes to rotations, that's what would happen, right? Don't believe me, but yeah, it's just how it works. And what happens as well is we're pulling on our skull, clear on the outside of it, with a lot of leverage from that sternocleidomastoid muscle, just following the collarbone because that's the other end of its insertion. The top end is at the skull, the bottom end is at the collarbone and the sternum. But when the collarbone moves, it pulls on the muscle pulls on the skull. So this is what I mean is, what really is neck pain? Well, what really is the neck? Well, a lot of things, as I said earlier, but the biggest focus is what's going to cause the most leverage on the skull, because the neck's supporting the skull. It's the sternocleidomastoid muscle, okay? Left and right, that is. Okay, the most leverage would be coming from that out of any other muscle that it could be coming from in the body. So if we're just moving in life and we can't just get around our short sleeves, or we have imbalanced short sleeves and one side's just farther lower than the other side in this right-handed world, clothing just falls to our dominant side, 85% give or take of human beings being right-handed, right? Gravity affecting our clothing as much as it's affecting our bodies. Clothing just having some motion in the material, never stretch, okay, is the point, meaning never have stretch in your clothing. It didn't even exist until just tens of years ago from today's date, the 26th of January, 2026. But also it goes the opposite direction of the only way the body operates. The only way the body can operate is by having the muscles move its skeletal frame. The only thing the muscles do is pull or contract or shorten. The opposite direction of stretch, okay? So don't stretch your body, but also don't have stretch in your clothing, ever. And it's just so common for them to have stretch in clothing nowadays. The materials they do that with, you know, didn't even exist just a while back, give or take decades ago from today's date, the 26th of January, 2026. So, well, and if they existed or not, clothing wasn't made out of them. Okay, that's for sure. But this is what I'm saying. Yeah. Well, just to be clear, yeah, at one point they didn't exist. They're just man-made. But time periods, I'm not trying to be all exact with. It's just so new, okay, in relative human being history. Dante, I don't want to be like micromanaging you, but if you can just stay on the towel, you stay so much cleaner. Okay. For the sake of keeping the house clean, you know. Here's the point. Here's the point. The point is the video's title, Short Sleeves and the Sternocleidomastoid, they have a direct connection. You might be thinking, well, how's my sleeve clear down here on my elbow joint affecting my skull clear up here at the top end of my sternocleidomastoid insertion? You could be thinking that. You could also think, how could such a light, thin little material like this really be affecting my body? Well, because it's always physically placed on you, and your body just has to work around it. And it does it even if you don't do it consciously. Your body does a lot subconsciously without you knowing or thinking about it. And so what happens is if we can't just reach normally, our bodies will try to reach and let's say we are imbalanced at our short sleeve length, okay, the importance of short sleeves, that video under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company here, that's what I mean. In a right-handed world, if your clothing's imbalanced, it'll almost certainly be imbalanced off to your right side if you're right-handed, okay? So now a longer sleeve on your right arm, it's just more friction in the way, more material in the way, more of a limitation, more of something just physically stopping you or restricting you from just reaching your arms at just the hinge joint of the shoulder with that upper arm bone just coming forward where it's meeting the collarbone that then comes into the center line of the body, having that sternocleidomastoid muscle connect to it and coming up to the skull, supporting the head, okay? And so if we have imbalanced short sleeves and our right short sleeve is just longer, then as we reach, it'll just grab on our upper arm bone or our humerus. There's muscle there too, there's biceps. And no matter how much muscle mass you have, it's a muscle, it's there. It's shaped the way that it is, and it's something that the clothing can catch on as you try to reach your arm forward just to do anything in life, or up or down or anything, any motion of your upper arm bone besides just resting in its neutral, straight down at our sides with Earth's gravity's pull, okay? Yeah, there's only one way the human body could ever work, and so having short sleeves in the way won't allow it to. And then anytime that upper arm bone moves, the collarbone's going with it. Anytime the collarbone has to pivot down to get out of the way of a short sleeve, okay, because the upper arm bone and the collarbone are the exact same thing, meaning they're directly connected bone to bone, now we pull on our skull from the sternocleidomastoid anytime the collarbone drops, okay? So I'm also wearing 4 tops, by the way. Yeah, okay. It's pretty cold. It's Utah County winter, man. It's 40s, low 40-degree Fahrenheit winters. Winters, yeah, that's how it's been, but meaning right now it's around 40 degrees Fahrenheit. It's been a warm winter, certainly, for Utah County, but still relatively cold. Good potty, Dante. Good. There you go. So, the skull's being pulled on. So what really is neck pain? It's your skull not being able to be supported. And there's only one way the skull can be supported. It's just the top end of the spine, which is in the center line of the body. And so if the skull's not even left or right, the muscle that's going to have the most tension pulling on the skull is the sternocleidomastoid, because it's the farthest out, left or right on the skull. Okay, on the very outsides is where it connects to the skull, right behind the ears, at the top end of the muscle. And so if your skull's not centered over your body, like over your spine, over your sternum, the actual bone of the center line, no opinion to have, then there you go. Neck pain, okay? Head tension, okay? Tightness on one side and looseness on the other side, but that creates tightness on both sides because you can only relax in the center, okay? Or the neutral, same thing, okay? Neutral, natural, and normal. Synonyms, it's cold, it is. But anyway, your short sleeves have to be short enough, otherwise you're pulling on your skull. And now here's the thing, if you pull on your skull, your jaw stabilizing your entire body isn't in the center. If your skull's not in the center, your jaw is connected to your skull. And it's bone on both sides, you know? The jaw comes up and connects to the skull, both things being bone, and the jaw is just a hinge. Okay? The natural bite size, a video here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. Looking down opposes bad posture. Seen with context is the case, okay? A video here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. The jaw is just a hinge. So here's the point with the sternocleidomastoid in the jaw is, well, that's what we say, that's what I show, that's how I discuss it, that's what's happening, is the sternocleidomastoid barely clears that lower jawbone on the rear if we're going to actually stand vertical on Earth's gravity, okay? And so our short sleeves, altering our upper arm bone's height, alters our elbow and its ability to just sit at the natural waist. And if the elbow is too low and it can't sit at the natural waist, it can't rest at our side because it hits into our hip bone, and then our hips move, and then our hips are our feet, our hips are the tip of our head, our hips are the fingertips. Okay, the hips are everything in the body because they're the center of it, vertically, top to bottom. And anyway, the entire body's damaged from your short sleeves. But the focus really is that sternocleidomastoid, because we have to support the head. Not only are you supporting the head, but the jaw has to just clear that muscle. What yawning really is a video here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. You know, yawning isn't what people think it is. Yawning is you trying to straighten out the musculature and skeletal structure of your body by you just opening your mouth. And you opening your mouth is just you hinging your lower jawbone, and it just has to clear those sternocleidomastoid muscles. And that doesn't happen unless your collarbones are at neutral heights. Okay, the importance of even height shoulders. That's a police officer. Anyway, that's a video here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. The importance of even height shoulders, that's determined by the collarbone pivoting up and down. Okay? And the scapula, but, you know, the collarbone and the sternocleidomastoid are the same thing, which means the skull and the sternocleidomastoid are the same thing, which means the skull and the collarbone are the same thing. And if the collarbone is connected directly to the upper arm bone, bone to bone, then they're the same thing. And if the upper arm bone is the elbow, then they're the same thing. And if the elbow is just two bones in the forearm meeting the upper arm bone or the humerus, then that means the hand is the shoulder, and it is, okay? And we discuss that all the time. We really do, a lot. We have many, 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 many times under In The Image Clothing Company. The hand is the shoulder, the foot is the hip, the jaw is the shoulder, the ears are the jaw. You know, certain things in the body are directly other things, and everything in the body is indirectly everything else in the body as well. But the point is, short sleeves will go directly to your sternocleidomastoid muscle. And that's really what's determining your head's vertical positioning, left or right, more than anything else on Earth's gravity. And this head of ours, just being this ball of weight, if it's not centered in every direction but left and right, that travels down and changes the positioning of our feet. The feet have to evenly oppose the center line to grip arches inward and keep us vertical. Rotations from the foot to the hip are the same when we lock it out at the knee, just like rotations from the hand to the shoulder are the same when we lock it out at the elbow. Anyway, the body just works all together or it doesn't work. As we say under In The Image Clothing Company, there's no compensation that the human body can have for anything within it not working correct. Everything has its own individualistic role to play. So, yeah, the human body only works activated as a whole. Everything works together or it's really struggling to try to work. And that's it, you know. Amputations, well, prosthetic limbs, right? Deformities, well, plastic surgery if and where, you know, or whatever it is. This is what I mean. That's why we have to get as close as we can to the universal human design in our own individualistic situations. It's not like we're just trying to look all perfectly centered. We're dealing with Earth's gravity. We're dealing with breathing. We're dealing with opposing muscles, you know. We're just dealing with the body that we didn't design, so we don't get to decide. We just have to allow it to work. That's our slogan here under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company. And there you go, okay, short sleeves and the sternocleidomastoid. Because you're never going to have your jaw in the center able to stabilize your entire body if your sternocleidomastoid muscles are at uneven levels of contraction, okay? Your jaw is just going to move because it just sits between these two muscles, basically, kind of between them. It's in front, but it is between, okay? It's just got to barely clear them if we're actually going to stand vertically with the natural curve in the spine. a video here under the main site of In the Image Clothing Company Dante and I filmed. Yeah, anyway, there you go. So there you go. Maybe that is there you go, as in that might be it. The sun's just about ready to go behind the mountains over there, and I'm pretty darn cold. Dante has been really patient through this video. Yeah, there you go. That is what I'll say, okay? And that's it. So thank you, and I'll cut it just like that. Goodbye.